stop until we look at the root cause. And the root cause is emotional behavior that has to be repaired, that often begins in a child's home. A child who witnesses violence and then goes off and does the same thing. If that child sees a parent going to meetings and being helped to change, and that parent talks about that, that kid's not going to grow up to be abusing other people. So at some point, we have to say, where the hell do we stop this? And this was one of the ideas that came forward.
Yeah.
Holding people accountable and giving them the support they need to change their lives to stop this epidemic.
All right. So let's talk about our number 10 recommendation, because this is where I'm hoping all of you will think about getting a little bit involved. So what we're asking the county to do is create a King County Gender-Based Violence Task Force to develop these ideas and implement some of these recommendations. So we really want the community to drive this and not the county, right? It's very clear to me that the organizations we talk to know what they're doing. Such smart people out there trying to solve the problems in their own community. Great ideas. They know what's working on the ground. So let's get those folks together to solve it. So what we would like the county to do is develop and recommend a fair chance housing ordinance to ensure that survivors in unincorporated King County. Yeah, so that's right. So we want them to, I'm like, this doesn't make sense, but it does go here. Because we think that'll actually be a pretty easy thing to chip off for the county for a working group, is to create a fair chancing housing ordinance outside of Seattle and the cities, right, in unincorporated. So that's a piece a working group could do pretty well to protect housing for lots of people. Then we want them to work with communities to expand, develop, and support gender-based violence prevention and education programs for youth. And those communities disproportionately impacted by gender-based violence. And the third is to design and implement community-based multidisciplinary responses to gender-based violence that will address root causes outside of the criminal legal system where necessary. So really, I think in this last recommendation, what we want to see is the county working with the really good organizations we have here already doing this work to develop, pilot, try stuff out. Those are our 10 recommendations. I think, that they really came from the community, and we're doing our best to pass them through and share this with the county. I would say we've already done a bunch of things about this gender-based violence work in the county. We sent a letter to the executive's office asking for that money for the levy. We're testifying at budget meetings, trying to push this forward. And I think the next task is trying to put some leverage on the county to start, hopefully, a task force. So my fantasy is like in the next year and a half that we can get them to start a task force to do this.
So what has the response been? I mean, have you gotten any response from these letters and these?
So what we have seen is response direct, like a letter from the county or the executive.
Because I know this report was actually done in 2022.
Yes.
So we're almost in 2024.
Yep.
So has there been any movement on these recommendations that you could say, yes, because of this and what we presented them, we now have that?
Yeah. So we do know there are a couple of places where funding has been impacted, or at least we believe, because they haven't actually come out and said, thanks, WAB, for your recommendations. But we do know that the Veterans, Seniors, Human Services Levy, the dollars were quite a lot more right after we made an ask. So that felt like pretty sure those are in alignment. Like we pushed and pushed and pushed. And then in terms of, it's called MID funding, it's mental health care funding. That was increased by quite a bit too, after we pushed and asked and got these recommendations out. So what we haven't heard and what we would like to hear is this work around getting the community together and start piloting and thinking about, and actually how do we implement this work, right? That's what we have not heard yet. And that's what we would love to see from the county, from our county council members from our different districts and from the executive's office. And we are going to be having an election for the executive's office.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a good chance to get someone in there that's going to be much more hopefully responsive to these needs in our community.
And I think it's
Yeah, go ahead.
community. I think it's all of us. If you're willing to be, if your organization is willing to be on the task force, if you have a representative, you can add
Yeah.
to that task force. It might be good for us to collect those names, those organizations, and then be able to take that forward to the King County Council and say, here's the essential members of
So
the
it's
task
not like
force.
they have to go out and find the people, like,
No,
we have the people.
we have the people.
Except it is important to also have a cadre of people that are not agency affiliated.
Absolutely, yeah.
Regular community members that are also just not necessarily, having to report.
Yeah, affected communities.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think, that is something I feel really comfortable saying in this too. Like, you need regular old community members, people whose lives have been impacted by gender-based violence that aren't community workers to inform this work.
Yeah,
And that's in there under communities that are most affected. That would be individuals as well.
Yeah.
And then, the list that we have on the handout that you have of the people the organizations that worked with us.
Yeah, so that was the short and sweet version of these recommendations. It's actually a written document. It's quite a bit longer. That goes into much more detail based on what we heard from the communities. I'm going to give a little shameless plug, if I can, to the Women's Advisory Board. So just so you all have a sense of our work, like, this has been the work since about 2019, working on gender-based violence. We're getting ready, and we've just started doing some work on improving aging throughout the county. So we are working with and been talking to agencies that provide elder care. So people who do support elders in their homes or in care centers. We're talking about lifespan, thinking about how we can improve aging and the people that support aging in our community, because that's a big issue, I think, for women, because women are by and large the caretakers of the elderly, and those are very low paid jobs in general. Some of them are unionized, so we're thinking about that aspect. And then how do we support our women or elders in our community that are aging? That's our current body of work. Our 2022 recommendations are the gender-based violence. And then before I was part of the board, there were recommendations around improving childcare access and affordability throughout King County. Didn't solve everything, but there was a task force based on that, and they implemented a whole bunch of stuff. And then the 2015 recommendations were promoting family-friendly workplace policies, and that did some good work too. So that's kind of what the WAB picks topics, and we generally do a big deep dive over a year or so into community issues and bring those back. Again, we have some board vacancies. If anyone would like to join the WAB, we would love to have more voices, particularly voices from rural King County, because this is a county board. It's not just a city of Seattle. Auburn, South King County, we would love to have some folks from down there involved. Up north, I think there's room for lots more voices in our group, and we'd love to have some more.
Yeah, because you say it's 19, how many members?
How many members do we get?
15.
You're supposed to have
15.
15, but right now you
We're
have.
short 7.
So we have some strong voices on there with Jeremiah Zamalai on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Teresa Mosqueda's running. I'm hoping that I've done some protesting with her in the past. So I know that she would be a woman who would be an ally as well. So we're hoping
She'd be a great
She would be a
ally.
great
in the elections we'll see a little more.
Yeah.
Take up in this.
too.
Yeah,
And-
Teresa Mosqueda will be a great ally for the Women's Advisory Board.
Yeah.
when
And
she's
I'm
there.
the rep for Gomez District. I'm in District 2 in the South End.
Okay.
So
So folks that are interested in becoming a member or at least applying to become on the Women's Advisory Board, where do they go? How do they play?
there is an email address or the URL. You can look up King County Women's Advisory Board, and their email address is on there, or you can email me directly at wab2@kingcounty.gov. That's Tanya. You can email me, or you can just look us up, and it'll give you the right people to reach out to. Yeah, you're gonna join us, Mary?
Well, I was gonna say, where can we find that report too?
Oh,
Is it on the Women's
it is.
Advisory
It will
page?
be going up there as soon
Shortly,
as we
yes.
can get someone at the county arm wrestled into getting it up there.
Okay, wonderful.
So we are an unsupported board. We have no budget. We are all volunteers. So, we have to do that. arm wrestling too.
Yes, we're going to be fighting for a little bit of a budget.
In the future,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, how can we do this work unfunded? That's
They should have
pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So,
All right.
we have some other organizers here.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any more questions about the report?
Want to respond?
Wonderful. Thank you for the information.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, great.
Cool.
So, we're gonna switch laptops, and I have some people in the waiting room of the.
Oh, awesome. Hi, folks.
I mean,
in the waiting room.
they're not in the waiting. I mean, I actually brought them on, but we got some folks online here.
Wonderful job. I wouldn't mind. I was thinking about the passport.
Hopefully
Okay,
that picks
yeah.
up.
So we
Oh,
make sure we get
okay.
So
we're gonna do a- Hello.
Hello there.
Let me get this up here. Let's see if so I'm new to this StreamYard. Go ahead and speak. Let's see if I can hear you all.
Can you hear me, Tana? This is Bridget.
Let me see. Testing, testing. Bridget,
Testing. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. All right, Dr. Linda.
Yes, I can hear you. And Bridget, yes.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So let me do this. Oh, I want to be able to see y'all. Let's see here. I want to bring all of the cameras up. Forgive me as I learn as we go.
How can I help? How can I help?
I want to make sure that these folks are up on the screen. Let's see here.
Maybe view.
Present.
Gallery.
Oh, where you see that? Where's the where?
Oh, no, because this is not Zoom. It's the other one, right? It's
Yeah, it's not Zoom. Add item. Ah, okay. I got
There
it.
you go.
There's all right. Cooking with gas.
Bridget,
now.
I just was at her event last Saturday.
Oh,
There you go. Camera grid. Okay, let's try that.
I don't know who that fourth person is supposed to be.
Yeah, just keep clicking around. You'll get it. I have faith in you. Just let me know how I can help, okay?
Okay, this one I want to go away. All right. Well. Okay, I have Bridget's with Sierra Sisters and Reverend Dr. Linda Smith, who have always supported our DV events and other events that we've done. I want this to go away. Ooh, let's see. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. Get that to go away. This is looking better. Okay. So,
Did everybody sign in too?
how is this looking? Is things?
Actually, you're right.
Can you see that? Okay. Okay, great. All right, wonderful. So I wanted to also be able to talk to folks about the correlation of our health and domestic violence. And Bridget, tell us about Sierra Sisters and your work and the correlation of domestic violence and breast cancer
Okay, and I'll do some statistics.
and other
as well.
illnesses.
Yes. I'm Bridget Hempstead, the founder of Sierra Sisters. Sierra is an African word that means knowing. If you have the knowledge, you have the power to fight against the effects of breast cancer. Sierra Sisters has been around almost 28 years now, doing this work to serve the community. I'm going to do a little bit of some statistics here in case you didn't know. Breast cancer, by the numbers, is the most common cancer in persons born female in the U.S. It's the second leading cause of cancer death for individuals born female in the U.S.
Sorry, Bridget, we can't see your screen. Are you sharing a screen or?
It doesn't give me an option to share my screen. So
is that what you wanted to do?
No, I'm going to go off my notes. So
okay. We couldn't see you for a minute. It went black. Okay, sorry.
Can you hear me though?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So you might not see me, but I'm going to keep talking.
Okay, I'm going to turn it up.
Okay. So in 2023, the estimate was almost 400,000 females will be diagnosed with breast cancer. We've got invasive breast cancer, DCIS, and 43,000 women will die from breast cancer.
Wow.
It was established that almost 3,000 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year, and 530 will die. We know that as a Black man, we know Richard Roundtree was really a poster man, as a man diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
1 in 8 individuals born female in the U.S. will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. Early female breast cancer is caught. Better chance by getting a diagnosis through a mammogram. Nearly 2/3 of female breast cancer is diagnosed localized stage 1. The 5-year survival rate for localized breast cancer is almost 100%. The 5-year survival rate for late stage breast cancer is a lower percentage, about 31%. Large inequities exist. Mortality rate in African American women is 40% higher than in white women, despite having a lower incident rate. And I equate racism as part of this grim diagnosis. We deal with so many different barriers as Black women. Doctors ignoring our symptoms, doctors telling us that we don't need pain medicine, doctors telling us that our skin is thicker, so we have a higher endurance. And I have to tell you, a call to action that Sierra Sisters is doing right now is that we have created a program along with Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center, Anti-Racism in Oncology. Over the past 2 years, we've developed a tool that will be launched the end of this year to go across the nation to all of the cancer centers and addressing the racism that is happening within oncology. We know that women that come to Sierra Sisters are dealing with incredible barriers that need to change based on the fact where doctors don't want to touch us, they ignore our symptoms, they watch a cancer grow, or they may give us the wrong treatment option for the type of cancer that they're diagnosed with. We've had enough of that. So we're asking and bringing on a call to action and having the support of Fred Hutch as we have created this series that will be launched, again, I say at the end of this year, videos that will be dealing and addressing with the issues we have dealt with, putting the onus on them to change their policy at the highest level. So, Shauna, you have some more questions.
Yes, the correlation of, the stress and things from, domestic violence, and breast cancer and other illnesses.
Well, depending on who's doing the research, they say that there is no correlation. I don't believe that, because women that are under an extreme amount of stress cannot deal with symptoms that arise because they're so fearful of the person that is abusing them. And I know this firsthand, dealing with some of our women that have dealt with domestic violence that are still in those situations. And then maybe they can't go and get their treatment. Perhaps they cannot go and even get a diagnosis on what's wrong with them, because their abuser has captured them and they're afraid to even go to the doctors. So I believe that there's a coalition. The research does not support that yet.
Okay, we have a audience member with a question.
Yes.
Come closer.
I've read research that does make a correlation between stress. Oh, sorry. I have read research that does make a correlation between stress and cancer.
There's a correlation with stress. However, the research doesn't prove that it's through abuse. We do know that there's a great correlation with stress, because when you're under stress, you have stress levels that are in your body that really perpetuate not only breast cancer, but other illnesses as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, any other questions for Bridget? Sierra Sisters, tell us how to reach you. Sierra Sisters, give support, partake in your program, please.
Yes.
I have a. May I make a comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
I just want to say it's certainly a moment of grace to be here with you today. And just over the years, I've heard so many amazing things about the work that you're doing, and so many of my friends that had experienced breast cancer that have been exposed to your work. And I just want to say thank you for all of the healing that you have brought and continue to bring to our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You're so welcome. It is truly a pleasure to be able to serve our community this way. And I know that when individuals think about breast cancer that has not been diagnosed, it's not a subject matter people want to talk about. It's not the housing issues which are in our face. We begin to talk about breast cancer only when it hits your own family. And then you're in a crisis mode because you need to get information right away. I would suggest reaching out to Sierra Sisters prior to that to get educated, so that you will build up a toolkit of defense if this happens to a family member, a community member. You need to know how to navigate through a very complex healthcare system that is not designed for us. So you can reach Sierra Sisters on the web, sierrasisters.org. Sierra is spelled with a C. Sometimes people make a mistake and they put an S. We have meetings January through October, monthly support group meetings. We hold educational forums and a host of educational opportunities. So you can always reach out to us or give us a call at 206-579-4521. And I must say that I'm very thankful to be here. I'm a 27-year, multi-time breast cancer survivor. And I'm glad to thank you, Tana, for inviting me today.
Thank you so much. And yes, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and it's also, let's not forget, Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well. And we are in this struggle together for sure. So, yeah, I mean, you can hang out as long as you want, or if you're good and we can connect, that's up to you. You know,
All right.
Mi casa, your casa.
Mi casa, your casa. Well, I want to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you for hosting these wonderful programs. And please forgive my voice. It's a bit strained based off of nurse's mistakes. So I'm in the healing process right now. And I just continue to advocate for yourself. Let me encourage you to advocate for yourself. We shouldn't have to, but there's a need because you are important. And we want to make sure that you're still here. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so I do want to give a moment now. Have a wonderful day, Queen. I'll talk to you soon. I'll bring you some more of that tea. Need some of that, that lemon ginger.
Yes, I need that. Bye-bye.
So, representatives from API Chaya. We have our representatives from API Chaya come up. And I want to give them a moment to speak about their services that they offer. So right over here. Yes, just you want to come up here too? Yes. Come on up here. And just introduce yourselves. You did work on this the program on the report, and if you would like to just speak to that.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Neelam Kaki, and I've been working with API Chaya for around 10 years now. It's wonderful to be here and to have the opportunity to, having mingled with some of you, and also to share a little bit about the work I do. I'll let Iman introduce herself too.
Hi, everyone. My name's Iman. I'm Neelam's daughter, and I handle, I'm not officially an employee, but I've facilitated with lots of API Chaya's Bonds for Kinship curriculum for the teen program and for the youth program. And I've taken their natural helpers training, which means I'm certified to talk about these matters. And I've done lots of voluntary work for them in the past. So I work very closely with them.
Yeah. So I'll explain a little bit about the agency and then talk about the program that I head at API Chaya. So API Chaya serves survivors of domestic violence, or gender-based violence, I should say, sexual assault and human trafficking. At one point, they were two separate organizations, the API Women's Safety Center and Chaya. Chaya was focused mainly on the South Asian community. Chaya actually means shelter, and so they were serving survivors of domestic violence. And then the merger took place, I think, around a decade ago, actually. And so we're based here in Seattle. So my role there is to coordinate the Peaceful Families Task Force, which is a faith-based program. And we offer, in addition to survivor support, skills and programming around creating positive family relationships, because, obviously we know that violent behavior is a learned behavior, and so it can be prevented and also be unlearned. One of the pieces of work that I've been involved in over the past several years is the creation of a curriculum named Bonds of Kinship. We did receive some funding through grants for this program, which was the goal of it was to create a prevention program catered towards, in addition to adults, also young children and teens. So we currently have, the main Bonds of Kinship program, which is a 5-series curriculum on various aspects of creating positive family relationships. And this is something, as I mentioned, that is a faith-based program, because there are plentiful resources from spiritual guides and holy books that are really in alignment with what we know about domestic violence prevention. And so after the creation of the program, we did roll it out in a number of Muslim communities. And in fact, we even adapted it for a Christian community at one point. So it's very much something that can be tailored towards a specific faith group, because many of the principles, are ones that we share in common with, for example, the Jewish faith or the Christian faith. And so, if that's something that any of you are interested in or have connections with faith-based communities, I'm definitely open to meeting up. And, if this is a useful resource, thinking about ways that it can be adapted. Let me see. Do you have anything to... So, as I mentioned, so just to give you an example, with the elementary level, we have worked with youth groups and mosques, and we've adapted it, for example, for the 5-year-olds in ways that are comprehensible to that age group. And we also provide material and activities that can engage them. And then as we head into the teen age group, there are case studies or role play scenarios where we ask them to utilize some of the skills that they've learned. So it's very much an interactive program. We're also very open to feedback. And so once again, if we receive feedback and need to adjust any aspect of the programming, we're more than happy to do that, because we really want it to be a resource that is something that meets community needs. That was something that was mentioned earlier. And of course, the value of community buy-in is, so great. And, in order to make something a success, we really do rely on that.
So if somebody wants to become a part or join your organization or volunteer, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me via email. It's neelam@apichaya.org. So that's neelam@apichaya.org. Or you could even call API Chaya directly, and they can transfer you to me. So please do reach out if you are interested in discussing this more, or would like the resources to be shared. I can definitely send out the curriculum to anyone who's interested, and just as a reference even, so that you can get a glimpse into some of the work that we're doing.
Any other questions for API Chaya?
I have a question. So how did you develop the curriculum? Did you work with people in the community, or is that like you? I'm curious.
That's what I have, sir.
Is that what?
Yeah.
How did you do this? How did you do this?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, usually, during community presentations, you do get a sense of what may be lacking or what's needed there. And also we do try to get people to fill out evaluations. So that was one source that I used, just, from having that sort of interaction within the community. As far as the curriculum is concerned, the starting point was family. If we're thinking about creating positive family relationships, then what do we understand about family? And so for that, much of the sources were faith-based, and, what does our faith tell us about family relationships? And then we moved on to the specific skills. And, often when, we consider gender-based violence and its place within our homes and families, it's very easy to lay blame, but often it's also easy to miss the fact that, perhaps people haven't been given the tools, or, they don't necessarily realize that that this behavior can be changed, and for future generations that they can be shaped in a way where those more healthy and positive relationships can be created. And so I think that was really the starting point, outlining, well, what are the needs? So it's a 5-session series. It begins with family, positive communication, self-compassion. That was a really important one because once again, there are circumstances that we see when, maybe even perpetrators or survivors, they don't have the space or the time to really think about self-compassion, and that's so important in this work and in functioning well within a family setting. So that was a really important one. And I'm going to leave the helpful sessions 4 and 5.
We also learn about red flags in relationships, which is so important to learn because people don't know always, what to even look for in a spouse or in a relationship in general. So having that and adapting it for younger kids as well. And then as well, going into more detail about that for the teen groups, because this work is definitely needed, especially at college age when dating does become more relevant. So that's been a big topic. And then lastly, we do a session on, speaking out, like if you're having a problem and, where can you find resources? What can you do? And just the importance of having your voice, keeping your voice heard, even if it doesn't work the first time, keep reinforcing that you need help. And really, as you guys have been saying, to advocate for yourself.
Another way we do that, we do encourage that from survivors, is an offshoot program that we started about 3 years ago. It's called A New Beginning, and it's for survivors who have experienced divorce or are going through it. And so we have a monthly support group session online and a monthly snack and chat. And that's, again, really well attended. It was something that was quite novel within the community because divorce can sometimes be something that's stigmatized. And so this is a place where women who are experiencing that plus domestic violence in many cases have a safe space to be able to share, seek resources, and to really just have that camaraderie, knowing that they're not alone in this experience, particularly when they have children that they are, trying to support at the same time. So it's been great to see, our programs develop and hopefully, again, meeting that community need.
Divorce is so common that we don't always think about that, but I do remember, and in my faith community, I've been in my church for my entire life, but I remember that was one time, even as wonderful as it is knowing all the people that we've known for years in our church, but I remember my mom saying she felt really alone when she was going through her divorce.
Yeah.
And it was like nobody talked about it, So I can only imagine that support group is very important for those ladies or men.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. I think because our cultural views, speaking of my own culture, is very biased, actually, sadly, towards women who are divorced, and those support systems aren't always in place. And it is a really traumatic and difficult journey to navigate alone. So,
It can be expensive even too.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah.
It seems like it's easy to get married and hard to get divorced.
Yes. And as Iman mentioned, we also run a children's group. So many of those women who have children send their kids to our programs. Again, the emphasis really is on positive family relationships, but that weaves in really nicely to, for that demographic, if it's children who are just experiencing divorce, then, to have them know what to look out for and that there is support out there for them as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank you for coming and sharing this great information.
Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate you.
So, all right, Dr. Linda, you still with us?
Here,
All
So,
right.
okay.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
so I was just gonna bring Olivette and Mary up. I think it could be a very interesting conversation between. So Olivette is here with Pocan, And Mary Dale Williams is a peer counselor and substance abuse counselor. And you, Reverend Dr. Linda Smith, have the church there in Renton, but you also do so much with domestic violence survivors, and you have an awesome story as well. I just want to kind of bring you all up here together, and let's kind of, we can have a good, candid conversation about domestic violence, religion. POCAN does a lot of work with HIV and AIDS and things. So these stigmas and these, these things that we really do need to talk more about. It seems separated, but really it's together. And I think a lot of people don't, we just need to kind of keep it real on some of these issues in correlation with domestic violence. So come on up, Mary and Olivet. I want you all to introduce yourselves, and then let's just have a little conversation. Or a big conversation.
Okay.
What's the topic of conversation?
Good question.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
so I want to make sure I got you. Oh, Mary, you come over a little more.
That looks perfect to me. I'm on the edge.
Well, that's
You can see Mary.
Oh, got it.
okay.
There's all of it.
Okay. So do you want us to just start?
Sure, just start.
Okay. Well, I'm Linda Smith, Dr. Linda. It's what I'm known as, and there is a reason for that. As Tana said, I am a domestic survivor and recoverer. I'm always in recovery because I do not want to make sure that I stay in check with myself so that I do not slip back into old ways. So I have a degree. One of the degrees I have is in transforming spirituality, transforming the mind, body, and soul. And being in a domestic violence situation, one of the things that we often missed is having a space for people to be healed and to be made whole. So I do work. I do work around to be heard, to be healed, and to find hope. And the importance of that is that unless we're healed from the trauma of the past, we will continue to carry that trauma forth into our lives. And we've heard some really interesting things when we heard Bridget talk about, stress and how it causes cancer. Well, trauma does the same thing. And every person carries trauma from their past. Traumatic events often involve threat to a person's life and to our bodies. And that's what domestic violence does. It produces terror and feelings of helplessness. And it can overwhelm a person's ability to cope or respond to the threat. And as we've heard, and we know, hurt people hurt people. Well, transform people. So unhealed trauma can lead to further division, violence, and it can also keep us in a place where we're unable to come out of it. So one of the things that I believe and have shown, I've been working with domestic violence for many years, and I do these circles, and it's helping people to address unaddressed trauma within themselves, and find a way to be healed and to be made whole. And that's why I say we can get out of the situation, but unless we heal the trauma from that, we will continue to be broken, and we will continue to be hurt. So the circles are really circles, and circles are a safe place for people to tell their stories, because we know healing is about truth telling. It's about being compassionate with oneself. It's about being empathetic to oneself, and it's about affirming a person's authentic self. And so we do that through that sacred place of storytelling, and practicing mindfulness and meditation that a person can do every day that enables them to walk the path of that continued healing, which we all are. I mean, we're all in the process of healing. But the circles are safe. They're a safe place. They're a sacred place. And they're sacred because the people that are there are sacred. Those who have experienced domestic violence are sacred human beings, and they deserve to be healed and to be made whole. So that's a process that I think it should be integrated into all practices and agencies that are working with people where they can find healing and hope. And so these circles are not about your religious background or anything, but it's about tapping into the divine power and spirit within you and knowing your authenticity, becoming who you are, becoming who God has created you to be, and knowing that there is always a better life for you. So I'm going to stop there for a moment, and then I'll listen to maybe questions or thoughts that you may have that may help me to talk a little bit more about the circles. But it's just a real safe space. And let me say that when I was in my situation, there's so much guilt and shame. And I was afraid to tell my family members because I knew that they would react violently. They would come after the abuser. But one day, my supervisor, just really an unknown, someone you wouldn't even think about. It was my supervisor, and I say that because he was a white guy, and he just walked up to me one day and he says, Linda, I don't know what's going on with you, but it seems like, your spirit is low. But I just want you to know that if you need someone to talk to, I'm here for you. And that really broke the ice for me, because here I found someone that I could trust, that it was confidential, that I could tell my story to. And once I told him my story, it gave me an inner power to then put that plan in to start to work towards getting out of that situation. But I think if that had never come along, someone that I felt that I could talk to and trust and to tell the story to, because I'm holding the story close to my heart, And once I found that, it just took me to a whole new level. And so that's why restored hope, to be heard, to be healed, to find hope is so important, because it gives people an opportunity to tell their stories in a safe and sacred place. So I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Linda. Okay, I'm going to jump right in because I want to give both of y'all your flowers. So first, let me just say how phenomenal these two women are that we have on camera. Olivet has been an ambassador for POCAN for many years. We worked on a program years ago called the GOTS Project. And one of our clients named it, and GOT stood for Get Off the Streets, which she was trying to get off the streets. And many people have gone on to be able to get a form of recovery and better their lives since we did that project. It was a huge thing. And then POCAN is just a part of my story, because that was the first job I had when I got clean. I went to POCAN. Wow. And POCAN gave me a place to work and a place to be with other people that had gone through the same things I had went through and was going through. So then they said, hey, well, you can go out and do outreach, and you can reach those that are going through the same things that you have gone through. So it was just very empowering for me as a person who was trying to get their life back together. So I appreciate POCAN and just all the work y'all have done as being ambassadors in the community and being culturally relevant and competent. And I've just seen you over the years so many times just touch people, and you probably didn't even know you touched them, but you definitely touched me. And then Dr. Linda as well. I met Dr. Linda. I believe it was the annual thing they used to have out at that University Christian Church. And I believe you were speaking about homeless women.
Yeah.
And I saw her and I was like, wow, she blew my mind. Yeah. And then I saw you again down at the juvenile because you were taking ministry to the youth in the juvenile. And so I've just seen these two women out there actually making a difference. And so, I mean, I'm just honored to be on camera with them both and just to give you your flowers while I am able, because we never know what tomorrow's going to bring. But just the idea that, to me, that's what I look for when I look for a leader. When I look at my elected officials and who I'm going to vote for, I look for those who I see. And I see you guys out in the community all the time. So thank you for that. So I'm gonna pass the mic to Olivet.
You're welcome. Yeah, so I'm Olivet Foster, and I work for Pocan, and Pocan's been around. This is our 36th year that we have been around. We're a community-based organization that focuses mostly on people of color, African Americans especially, but we do serve everybody. The organization started out as a advocacy and support group for people who were affected with HIV and AIDS. And over time, we've kind of evolved because we realized that, even those who are affected with HIV and AIDS, they have other issues that go on in life. So we have 11 different programs right now. We work with youth. Ages 18 to 24 who have been involved in the criminal justice system and who are trying to get their lives back on track by providing supportive housing, entryway into training, employment, and let's see what else. We have a homelessness prevention program for people who are in the process of being evicted from their homes. And so we have funding to help keep them stabilized and keep them in their housing. We do have a senior mobile medical program. That's
the big van, huh?
Yeah, so actually we have two now. We have a real super van that we are going to the senior centers, and we have a couple of nurse practitioners and some CNAs and some medical assistants, and they do general healthcare within the various senior center programs. We also have a PrEP clinic. So PrEP is a medication that people take daily to help them from becoming infected with HIV and AIDS. So we have that clinic. We do testing, HIV testing, STI testing, Hep C testing. So we do a lot of that in our Renton office. We also have case management and non-medical case management for people who are infected with HIV and AIDS. Let's see, what else? Oh, we have a trans economic empowerment program for people that are in transition or are fully into their trans personality. And so what we do is we provide advocacy, support, resources to help them either coming out of prison or already out here and just need some support. And lastly, I do have a emergency financial assistance program for victims of domestic violence, sexual abuse, human trafficking. So I provide emergency financial assistance, and I also provide funding for mental health counseling.
Wonderful.
So how do we reach Pocan?
So you can go to the website, www.pocan.org.
And I still know the number.
Or you can call us
206
at 206-322-7061.
That's burnt in my memory.
Okay. And so we have two locations. We have one in Renton, at the north end of the Renton Airport. So it's 901 Rainier Avenue North.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes. And then we have our Seattle office, which is the main office, which is at 4437 Rainier Avenue South.
And I wanted to ask, because I was telling Olivet right before we came up here, Okay, I know that my generation, because that's how I had a job at POCAM, we were very concerned because they didn't have the medications for HIV/AIDS that they have now. So we were all about getting condoms out to the community and using condoms, and that just became a part of my learning at POCAM. Was safer sex was very important, and I get a little disheartened now because it doesn't seem to be that messaging is out there in the same way that it should be. But anyway, the thing is what I was going to say is people who are aging.
Mhm.
I had an aging family member. One of my uncles came to me and told me that he had HIV, and people are still having sex. Seniors are still having sex. Sex is being had in nursing homes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just ask you when I heard you mention the elders.
Mhm.
How does that kind of play out? Is there any trends that you're seeing with elders and people who are still facing, the fact that safer sex is part of their life? We're still active. We're living longer, and we're having sex too.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the reason that we now have the PrEP clinic, because people are still going to, they got the little blue pill for the older generation, and then the younger generation ain't into condoms and everything in between.
Yeah.
And so the new medication, the PrEP medication, is a medication that it's a pill you take every day, but then you're not necessarily having to worry about for those that don't want to wear the condom, at least take a PrEP pill.
Okay.
Yeah, but it only stops HIV, not any other STI.
Well, I wasn't finished now. There's another medication out there too for STIs. Okay, so it's called DoxyPrep. Okay, so it's a medication that will, if you should happen to think that you had an encounter with somebody who may have an STI, if you take this medication daily, if you take it in the beginning, you're more or less likely to be infected. So there's two different kind of medications. So there's one for STIs, and then there's one for HIV.
Which POCAM's always been a leader
And
in
if
getting that
you come
information.
to the PrEP clinic or
Yeah.
call POCAM, we'll give you way more information about it, and we'll test you and see if you're, eligible to be on either one of the medications. To be on the PrEP medication, you cannot be HIV positive. So you have to be negative. So you would have to be tested to make sure that you were negative prior to being given the medication.
But see, even with that,
You up here, Miss Tanya.
well, and I'm just saying, even with that, like a lot of it's not really being talked about. But those are women's health issues, because we know that a lot of women have been infected by a partner, and so this is important women's health information that we still need to make sure is getting out to our community. So thank you.
This is why I wanted you three to kind of let's have this conversation, because we have Reverend Dr. Linda representing the church, but a survivor and also working with domestic violence and helping shelter in women or people, I should say, because it doesn't
Men or
not
women.
just always women. Mary, with your experience, and Olivette with your experience, and like in the Black community, in the stigma, things are so stigmatized. Church, are folks in the church really talking about sex and HIV?
Right.
And if somebody comes out as LGBTQIA plus, what happens to that person? What, the family might be embarrassed at the church, like that.
There's a lot.
Yeah. And those are really important issues, because it keeps when we're not talking about those things. And that's why I do a lot of the work that I do is individual, one-on-one. I've been working with a homeless shelter since 2008, and I've been doing these groups, but also talking about people of various sexual background, and even working with the church, because the church has been a place that really oppressed people, because you tell people they got to be silenced about certain matters, and that's not how people are healed. People are healed by being able to express who they are, and then we're called to be, that hope that helps them in whatever way that they need help, not to condemn or to judge them. And so God desires for life for everyone. And sometimes, when we're not supporting people, when we're condemning people and outcasting people, we're doing harm to them. And so I believe that the gift of life belongs to everyone. And our situation or our status in life should not define that. But what defines that is the support base that we have around us to help us to live that gift. And that's why this has been such great work for me. I just really love lifting people up and encouraging people and reminding them that each person, no one person is better than another person, and that every person deserves the gift of life. And so I appreciate my friend here. So you work with Deontay.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I was with him last night, so we do a little community work in Clinton. So,
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, does
Okay.
anyone here have any questions?
I mean, I was just gonna close also with the idea of, when I first came on at Pocan, there was a program called Girlfriends Talking. And public health supported that program, and I think later on they realized the value of it after Sheila was gone. But Sheila Robinson was the spearhead for that program, and she broke a lot of barriers, and she did a lot of things, mainly just bringing women who were involved in sex work to the forefront. And we had a little magazine that we put out, and we would be able to, we used to take people's pictures and we would pay them for their picture or their story. And then we would put different pictures with different stories. So nobody never, everybody remained anonymous. But it was the idea of being able to give directly back to the community for their wisdom and their experience and knowledge. And so being trained up in that way, that was part of my foundation of being a community organizer. And then also we used to have street outreach services with Imani Wood and Jerome Kidd and many of the people that were at the very beginning of the harm reduction movement. And now harm reduction is it's thought of as basic good practices, right? So again, I just really want to just acknowledge Pocan and the value and the importance of bringing those cultural ways of doing things into the outreach work, because it really wasn't, it wasn't really thought. It seemed like they didn't think much of it, but now we really see the value of how many people and cultures and how we're not reaching as many because we were much more funded back then at Pocan through the CDC and stuff. So we need even more support to have even more programming at Pocan and other agencies like that do cultural work. Apichai is another one that's at the forefront of doing real culturally competent care for those communities. So just really proud of that, and the fact that trafficking, now we have 4 or 5 big agencies that help people to escape trafficking. We didn't have that back then. It was pretty much domestic violence was just barely starting to have a network to where they had, Dawn over on the east side, and YWCA was just starting out. Now we have, Aurora Commons, we have REST, Real Escape from the Sex Trade. We have, the other one is OPS over in Berrien, Organization for Prostitution Survivors, and then YWCA and Pocan both have commercial sexual exploitation as a specified niche for people of color that can go to them and be like, hey, I'm trying to get out of this. I don't know what to do. So we've come a long way, but there's still more work to do. And I will say, this is my shirt, and I'm proud to wear it. We also used to have CARA, Communities Against Rape and Abuse. And you can see the back says,
Silence is violence. Yes.
And so we got to continue to talk about this stuff. So thank you so much, Donna, for continuing the work and inviting us.
Yeah, Mary, and thank you for your loud voice out there, because like you say, we got to keep the voice out. And I don't mean that in a bit. I mean just being
I am loud.
you know what I mean? I didn't mean it that way. I'm just, and when I say loud, sometimes we can have a voice and we we were afraid to speak it out and we were quiet with the boys, but being vocal about it, being a strong advocate is so important. And so thank you for that. And
And you too, Linda, for your work down in Renton. Renton against racism.
Reverend
Yeah,
Doctor,
yeah.
Yes.
So,
tell us how we can reach out to you or be able to share the information about your shelter and the services you offer. Tell us how to reach you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, how do we reach your programming?
okay, you can reach me. I need you can, well, simple way is to reach me through 425-221-1504. And then I will send the other contact information, the website, and particularly the email. Those are probably the two ways that's best to contact me. But I am always open. I feel so strongly about the circle work in any program, and yeah, just excited to work alongside of you all, and thank each of you for your amazing work, and Tana and as well. So,
Thank you.
All right. Well, all right. I think we're gonna wrap this day up and call it a success. And we have captured this, and so it will, be out in the world. So thank you again so much. I look forward to continuing this work and doing more with you, Reverend Dr. Linda, there at Martin Luther King Baptist Church in Renton, and your shelter and anything else you need. Of course, you know you can always reach out, call me anytime. So, okay, would you like to come and say?
I don't know. You want me to?
Just to say your farewells.
All right.
And the King County Women's Advisory Board and that
We did.
that work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering the call and inviting me in and working with me and for these 2 days especially
Yeah. It's
to do
more of
this
a
work.
privilege for me,
awesome.
right? My goal is to help elevate voices and use my skills to do that. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful that you've trusted that we can do that with you.
Mm-hmm,
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you guys, and see you next year.
Yeah, next
Oh,
year.
I'm trying it over here. Oh,
Yes. And that's
All right.
also the cover of the report. So it's the
Yeah.
same background in
Yes.
there with the black with the pink stripe. So
yes.
look for the report
It
soon.
will be available online. I will be sharing links and information and all the things. So, all right, everyone, enjoy the rest of this day.
Thank you.
And we're not
Be
going to
safe.
wait a year. We're going to do this again more soon in the year.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
maybe every quarter or something. Thank you. So it's been officially logged out.